Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, we have the second episode of my top 3 sports cards investments of the week. If you're new to this series, basically I take a look at my top 3 sports card investments for the current week. I usually like to look at a time frame of about 1 month to 3 months, so I try to get you guys some good advice, some good information to hopefully help you make money in the short term. The first player we're going to be looking at here today is Joe Burrow. More specifically, Joe Burrow's Donruss 2020 PSA 10. I think this card has a lot of potential in the short term and even in the long term, depending on what your definition of long term is. In the next 6 to 12 months, if you're looking long term, Joe Burrow is going to be coming back from his leg injury. Hopefully he's okay and everything. And if you're banking on him having a really good bounce back season, then Joe Burrow is just a smart investment in general. Investing in football cards right before the draft, at least a month before the draft, before they get really hyped up, would be a pretty smart investment. And if you look at this card specifically, it's been sort of holding steady right around 200 or so, maybe 175. So if you can find a good deal on this card for about 150 to 175, I would say definitely think about picking it up, especially because it has a very low population, as you can see right here. And with PSA raising their prices about 2 weeks ago, they doubled their prices for every single card service. So unless you're doing bulk submissions, it's not really any value anymore to submit a lot of the base cards like the Donruss or even the Optic sometimes. You have to really submit your high-end cards for that. So I really think you're going to see some stagnant numbers in the lower-end products like Donruss here, which makes me think that this Joe Burrow specifically would be a really good value to pick up. My next player to look at would be Tyler Herro of the Miami Heat. More specifically, his 2019 Select PSA 10 card. I like this card specifically of Tyler Herro's because it is a lot farther down than his more recognizable card, his Prism PSA 10. It's about half of the price, which I think is very good value considering Select is a hobby-only product. So if you look at the population on the Prism PSA 10 right here, his rookie Prism, 3,462 cards of this specific card in a PSA 10. Whereas the Select has less than 10% of that, 269 cards. This means that if Tyler Herro gets hot again in the postseason, kind of like he did last season, then you could see a knee-jerk reaction with the Select card because there's only 269 of them, whereas the Prism PSA 10, you would have to have a lot more demand for that to drive up the price. And if you look at the Heat standings right now, they're solidly in the 4th seed right now, heading into the last stretch before the playoffs. You shouldn't see too much movement in the Heat. They're pretty consistent. They might move up a seed or move down a seed, but right around that 3 to 5 seed range is where you can kind of expect them to be right around the playoffs. So considering that, they're going to have a fairly easy matchup, I would say. I wouldn't say easy, but they would have a 4-5 matchup or a 3-6 matchup, and I believe that the Heat are consistent enough to at least get through the first series. And if Tyler Herro has a really good postseason like he did last season, maybe not going all the way to the finals, but if they win a series or two, then you could really see his cards rebound from where they were at the finals of last year. Now moving on to the last player of my top 3 sports card investments of the week. We have Jayson Tatum, Optic PSA 10 rated rookie. I like Jayson Tatum as a good short-term investment, mainly because there's only a few months left until the NBA playoffs. The Celtics are fairly inconsistent right now. They'll lose 2 or 3, and then they'll win 2 or 3. They just drop games here and there. But even doing that, if you look at the standings, they're still in the 6th seed right now. It's a really tight race in those bottom 3 seeds right here with Boston, Atlanta, and New York. They're all at 20 wins right now, but I could see the Celtics being the most likely team to pull it together and really make a run at that 5th seed, even challenging up to the 4 seed for Miami. So if they can pull it together as a team, I think Jayson Tatum would be one of those players that really leads a good comeback. not necessarily a comeback, but a good stretch of consistency for the Celtics. So looking at Tatum's PSA 10 rated rookie, it's holding pretty steady right now, which is usually what you want to see in cards you're going to invest in, because you don't want to risk losing a lot in the card. So as long as it's holding consistent and the player doesn't get injured, then they shouldn't really see too much of a decrease or increase. But you're banking on the fact that the Celtics will eventually pull it together like they usually do. They're usually a good bet for the 4th or 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. So being as inconsistent as they are right now, I think it's just a bad stretch of games for them. I think they can really pull it together. And Jayson Tatum right here, as you can see, 2,900 population. That is kind of a high population for his cards, especially because it's 2017. You don't really see a lot of grades outside of Prism, I would say. Prism has mass grades from 2017 even through 2019. But even Optic being at almost 3,000, it is a little higher on the population than I would like. So if you don't like that population right there, you could look at his red and yellow variation. It has less than 50% of the population, and it also is holding about the same trend as his base Optic. It's going to cost you around $250 or so, but if you can find a good deal on eBay or even at a local card show or card shop, maybe you can haggle your way down to $225, even $200. I was at a card show this past weekend and a guy offered me $215 cash for me to buy his red and yellow Tatum. I probably should have bought it looking at it in hindsight, but I was more looking to trade cards for it, and he wanted ridiculous trade value versus cash. So Jayson Tatum, I think, is a really good short-term investment. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of my top 3 sports card investments. Hopefully I gave you guys some good information and some good advice to make you guys some money in the short term. And feel free to leave in the comments any other investment picks that you guys might have. Also drop a comment and let me know if you want to see more expensive plays or if you want to see even cheaper plays. I could look at PSA 9s. I could look at more off the beaten path players, not necessarily the best or even second best player on some of these NBA teams, or even if you want me to look at some wide receivers or running backs in the NFL. So definitely let me know on that. But anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos for any future sports card content. Anyways, I'm out.